Hello and welcome to Digital Learning Day and welcome to Boost Student Engagement. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to sharing with you all the different ways that you can boost student engagement with your students in the classroom. Check out the pirate adventure today and go ahead and see the bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/engagepirates, all lowercase. And let's get ready to set sail on an awesome adventure together with your students. Well, my name is Christine Danhoff, and I'm the Technology Integration Specialist at Genoa Area Local Schools, which is in Northwest Ohio. I've had the opportunity to be a classroom teacher for a number of years, as well as a media specialist and computer teacher, and love what I get to do now because I get to work with teachers and students in the classroom still and find ways to get them excited about the content that they're doing. There you'll find my contact information. You can connect with me on Twitter, as well as email me with any questions that you may have after today's presentation. And you'll also see my website listed there as well. And then again, if you would like to have these resources after today, there's the bit.ly link at the bottom /engagepirates, and that will take you to these resources. Well, what are our goals for our session today? So we're going to take a look at our treasure map and find our goal is to get you successfully planning and implementing activities that are going to collect data and drive your instruction, as well as getting your students excited and engaged, as well as empowering them in the classroom. So we're going to look at lesson delivery and designs. We're going to look at areas of student creation and gamification, and then how these resources can collect data and feedback and let you provide feedback to the students as well as you work through your activities. So get ready to roll. We're going to start off with many of these resources that you see here on the map. So of course, if you've accessed the resources, you can hover over many of these things here, and it's going to take you directly to the slide. So we're going to take a look at Peardeck and Nearpod first. We're going to dive into Edpuzzle. We're going to take a look at how Seesaw can be utilized in all grades. We're going to look at gamification and ways that students can create with resources such as Book Creator and Write Reader. Now, all these resources I'm sharing with you today can be utilized pre-K up through 12th grade and beyond. So you'll just have to modify, of course, how you're utilizing them, but they can all be used with students in a variety of ways. So let's take a look at our first lesson delivery with Peardeck, and then we're going to take a look at Nearpod and how they're similar and different. So here you'll see that we have some students working on Peardeck, and if you hover over the word Peardeck, you're going to get all of the resources. So if the short 20-minute session isn't enough and you say, I really want to use this, I've included in here a how-to video, a handbook to get started, how can you access premium features for a trial period, there's templates, and then what I love about Peardeck is they're constantly changing. So you can now add a co-teacher, so the co-teacher can see the students' responses in the dashboard. You can add your own voice to the slides, which is great for all ages of students to be able to have the information read to them. You can provide student feedback here, and kids can see that feedback firsthand while they're in Peardeck. And then here I've given you a link to try it as a student. So when you click over to that, you're going to be taken here to a student-paced Peardeck presentation. Now, just a reminder, you can also use Peardeck, which is instructor-paced. And I do that many times within the classroom. And that allows you, when you change your screen, the student's screen is going to change. So it lets you have that control over that where you can keep everyone on the same page. So as I go in here to the student-paced mode, it's going to start me wherever I left off. So I left off at slide 5. I'm going to back up here a second so you can see some of the different tools you can utilize with this. So it tells me audio is included, and then down here in the right, you'll see a pair of headset that tells the students that there's audio on the slide, and then also the immersive reader is built in if there's anything that needs to be read on the slide. So this is saying, have you ever utilized Peardeck before? And so you would drag the number to whichever choice that you would want. And because this is student-paced, I wouldn't be able to share my responses in live time with the class, which is normally what I do in a live lesson, is I show them what does that graph look like, what's the summary, and then as the students go through, there's what's called a drawing slide, so they can draw on here. How do you feel today? And they can circle how they're feeling for the day. And there's text tools, there's erasers, there's highlighters, so they can do many different things. Again, audio is included on this one. So tell us one positive thing. So here's a text input where they type in their response, and I can see all of them in my teacher dashboard. And then here again, I have just some resources. So this one has nothing on it except clickable links that they can click on to take them to other resources. And you can click on these as well to add them to your library. Over to the side, I can take my students to websites. So it's embedded right within the slide, so they don't have to open a new tab to go out to a different website. So here are the Peardeck templates. And then from there, my favorite is the draggable again with the dot. Students, you can lock their screens after they've done this in live mode. So that way they're not just moving their dot all over. But here you can get a quick check of how your students are feeling after the end of a lesson. Now notice there's no save button because it saves it automatically. Wherever they left off, they can continue the next day and move on from there. So remember, go ahead and click on that. That will take you to a lot of the resources. And then here are some extra resources for you as well. So these are all GIFs or images that will share with you kind of how do you get started. So first you need to install the Peardeck add-on in Google Slides. And your admin, Google admin, might have to approve that to let that work. And then from there, I can open up my Google Slides deck and I can insert these different types of questions within it. And then after I've inserted those questions, you're going to see that I can run the presentation in live mode, which is instructor paced, or in student paced mode. So here it's walking us through those different portions. One portion of Peardeck that I'm just going to briefly mention, which is a fantastic feature as well, is what's called their flashcard factory. And with the flashcard factory, it's a great way to review vocabulary terms, have students draw and type out examples. And then from there, as the teacher, you can stamp them for approval. And it's like a factory. So you'll see across the bottom all the different student responses coming in. And if you approve it, it goes off. And then when they get to shipping it off, you're going to see that I can actually send my flashcards to Gimkit, which is something I'm going to mention later. And here you can see that GIF is showing you exporting it to Gimkit to play a fun review game. The most important piece, of course, is getting that data afterwards and being able to access the student answers. So where do I see that? And that's what I was talking about with this dashboard you'll see here. I can click on my different presentation slides and get that information right within there. But do note that you'll have to go out to peardeck.com and click on sessions in order to get your teacher dashboard for those sessions and results. And that's also where you can add your co-teacher in there as well. So here's some samples that you can utilize. Some are ones that I've created. I've created these two. And then here's another one for older grades. So I've got some K-2 activities. This one's perfect, kind of like a mini breakout Peardeck coming up here for St. Patrick's Day. We just did this one for Valentine's Day. And then here you can see the Federalist Party here for 9 through 12. Great ways you can click on these. It will ask you to use the template, and then you'll open Peardeck in your add-on in Google Slides, and you can go off and running on your own. All right, and then here again is the data that you'll get back, and this is the session area that you'll find in Peardeck. And you can see which ones I've closed, which ones are student paced, and if I still have any running live, you'll see that come up there. And then you'll see the little people, that means I've added a co-teacher to those. And if you need to learn a little bit more about that, you can click on the info tab here to check out Peardeck in more detail. So let's look at Nearpod next, because both have great features that are great to use with students. So there's certain times I love to use Peardeck and certain times I love to use Nearpod. So I'm going to hover over Nearpod here. And what is additional features that are in Nearpod are their library of activities. Some are free, some have a cost. You also have the option for virtual reality or 360 embedded within it. You can embed PhET simulations and science simulations within there. And again, I can run it as student-paced or live. So they have some similarities, but some added features here in Nearpod. And so when we jump over to Nearpod, I'm gonna, again, these are GIFs again that can show you what's available, but I'm gonna dive right into Nearpod here. And within here, I clicked on their library, and this is what is extensive that you won't get in Peardeck, but Nearpod has a ton of these things that you can, lessons already created that I can filter out by grades. I can search if it's free. I can also search if I want a video lesson, which is one of the examples that I'm going to give you to try out later here. And then from there, when I want to utilize it, here's a sample of one. You can see that, again, I have the immersive reader built to this one as well that can read to my students. And here, they're going to have the availability, again, to use some of the drawing tools. So this one is just drawing a missing letter because we're doing short vowels. Again, drawing the letters. And then here's another added feature that Peardeck doesn't have. So I can embed a poll. Well, you kind of can do that with the multiple choice, I guess. But I can have a poll or a quiz built directly into my Nearpod lesson as well. And then from there, I've embedded a little video in here for them to watch where they can try it out. And again, some drawing tools. So that's just a sample of what it would look like with your students. And the treasure map here is going to take you along the way to see the PhET simulations. Of course, you can add timers to your questions. So if you're doing math, you can add a timer to it. And then here's my data. So again, I can see up on my dashboard on my screen, all my student responses at once. And what I love is that down at the bottom here, you can hide their names. So it's anonymous. Same with Peardeck. You can have it so that way their student names don't show up there. So that way you can just get a quick visual of where you need to go with your students. And then again, I love including samples in here. So this is a sample of a video Nearpod lesson for 2nd grade. Here's one all about landfills, which is coming up for Earth Day. And then here is that short vowel activity, which that should be a pre-K to 2 activity there that you can check out. And then again, the dashboard, the information you get from Nearpod is a little bit more detailed. So I'm able to see and download reports much easier in Nearpod than I can in Peardeck. So take a look at the info here, try it out, but you're going to actually see all those responses and some nice graphs built into there so you can quickly gauge where you need to take your students next in the lesson that you're teaching them. And thanks to Jake Miller, another Ohio native here, and at Jake Miller Tech, he has put together this great visual to share with you why would you want to use one over the other and what's included in the free features. So it looks probably really small on your screen, so hopefully you have access to the presentation here, and you can take a look at what he's narrowed down, what you can all include in this, and the differences between both of them. So thanks, Jake, for putting that out there for everyone to use. Now diving into video next, because we love to get videos, they get our kids engaged, but how can we make sure that they are really truly engaged and listening and comprehending those videos? So Edpuzzle is a great option for this. And if I hover over more info, again, I'm going to give you a getting started guide, a short how-to video of how to use this. And what's awesome is you can take pre-created videos from YouTube or Vimeo, or you can create your own teaching videos using Screencastify and share them directly to Edpuzzle or upload them to Edpuzzle. What is Edpuzzle then? It allows you to add questions to your video to kind of gauge where your students are along the way. You can also interact in a live mode with them through Edpuzzle. So either assigning it as a activity for a flipped learning classroom, or you can do it live with your kids and get that feedback right away as well. So really awesome to use. I'm going to dive over here to Edpuzzle. And again, you have the option for free. And I can see here our school district of all the videos our teachers have made. I can also see the curriculum, which is where I'm at now. And I'm looking at middle school content. So if I teach middle school social studies or history, I'm going to dive in here and find some already created activities. And I know that our students are on this area probably right now. So let's take a look at here. And so here are some already created videos. It will tell you how many minutes it is, as well as how many questions. Now you can adjust these. So if you say, I want to use this, but I want to edit it, I can make a copy of it or edit it. And then from there, I can go in and add my own questions. So maybe I want to add a question. He became a part of the video. And if I pause it, I'm going to click questions, and I'm going to pick what type of question I want to add for my students to answer. And then once I finish that, I go ahead and hit finish, and I'm going to assign it to my students. So it ties directly to Google Classroom again. I can assign it to my kids. I can also put it out there after I assign it. I can do it live with my students. So I'm going to say assign this. I can go ahead and do prevent skipping, which is what many of our teachers love. They can actually see that the students watch the whole video then. And then from there, I can decide if I want to play live or they do it as a homework assignment. So really awesome way to utilize this. And then once they've done the videos, I can get some data here again and collect my feedback to show how much of the video did they watch. And then I'll get a grade here that will grade those questions. And I can see kind of very quickly color-coded how my class did. And then here over to the right, you'll see again, I can do that live area or download the grades to get that data back from my students. So just some extra things involved with this is search their library, create your own videos, or check out the certifications there. And then here's where you can try it out as a student. So click join here and you can try out an Edpuzzle sample all about earthquakes and see how you do with your knowledge of earthquakes. All right, looking next into Seesaw. Seesaw is a digital portfolio where students can do activities. They can also upload their own pictures, videos, recording very easily into the Seesaw app on any device, Chromebooks, Kindles, iPads, whatever you have. And here you can see my son utilized it before for a science project. And he was
This is my rain gauge.
with his teacher, rain gauge that he created.
A little
for
bit
his
of oil at the
project.
bottom to make it flat.
So within Seesaw,
he
can actually hit the green plus button and add a video that gets shared directly to his teacher. So again, hover over Seesaw. You're going to see the same thing. I've got some great resources built in. And if you scroll down, there's a lot of awesome ways that you can integrate Seesaw with Google Classroom. So you don't just have to say, we use Google Classroom, I can't use Seesaw. You can, and there's some great resources to do that. So again, my treasure map has some great visuals on there, but I'm going to dive right over to Seesaw. And here's my class, and you'll see the journal are all my sample students. So if I were checking out my elementary student, I could see all the work that they've turned in along the way, pictures or video they've put in there. The activity or the light bulb are activities I've pulled from their pre-created community library, which is huge, and it's free. So think of all those paid teacher activities out there, which are great as well. But here you have a ton of really great educators putting their great talents out there and making these activities that you can utilize and edit and use. And as I assign them to my class, you'll see here, kind of like Google Classroom, they will open up the activity. So they would go ahead and say add response, and they would click their name or log in. And then here they would go through the activity. Now, sometimes there may be multiple pages off to the side, but you can see my students can snap a picture on a slide. They can record their voice. They can draw, they can highlight, they can embed backgrounds or links or text. So there's all kinds of things. And then when they're done, they hit the check mark and then it adds it to their journal. Now, as a teacher, I can go back in here and see, oh, 2 responses. And just very similar, I could take a look at that student's responses right within here. I can comment back to them and do so much more in here. So Seesaw is great for all ages, not just little kids. You can utilize this K-12, science and math. This would be a great way to incorporate for kids to track their thinking, to use as a journal, to do different activities where they can actually draw on the activities there. And so that's such a great feature of Seesaw to utilize as well. And then samples again. Here's some samples from upper elementary to lower elementary, all the way to middle school and high school with linear equations of how you can utilize Seesaw in the classroom. I tell you, just dive into the community library there and take a look, and you're going to say, whoa, where have I been? This is awesome. All right, our last area to look at is gamification and then some student creation. And so with gamification, my favorite, Breakout EDU. Again, hover over the term Breakout EDU there, and it's going to give you the how-to video again and how you can safely do this with your students. The great way that you can do this is digitally, and I always come into this. Why am I using any of these resources? It's not just to utilize it, but what am I going to have the students do with this? So this is a great visual to share with you those 4 C's and the social emotional learning standards that come with playing games such as this. you're going to find here a link to curriculum-aligned games. So here's an example of all the 4th grade math standards, digital games, and you can click on them each. And if you do have the boxes, you can get those kits ready to go with a physical box game. Digital right now seems to be the easiest way to do that. You can sign up for a free Breakout EDU account to get started and check out some of these resources. And then, of course, I have to include one for you to play. So if you click on the treasure box over here, here's a sample one called Mindful Maddie, talking about mindfulness. And here are the digital locks up at the top. So you can go through the game. You can click on it to make the clue bigger. And then down here, this one is a text lock. So try your hand at some of these Breakout EDU games and see if you can break out. And then again, these are more that I utilize with students in the classroom. I always don't do the same thing. It keeps it fresh for them, keeps them on their toes. So try these out. I added some links here that you can try them. They're all ages, all have a free option to get started. Blookit is one that kids love. GimKit is another one that incorporates, of course, with the Peardeck flashcard factory. And Quizzes is one of my favorites because it actually reads the questions to the kids. You can turn that feature on for your younger students. And then last but not least, student creation, that huge piece there. I cannot pick one over the other here. So my 2 favorite for writing and creating books or journals, Book Creator and Write Reader. And if you go ahead and click on the little bookmark at the top, it's going to take you out to samples that were created by students. So this one was created by 2nd graders, and you can see the option to add audio into there, to include maps or pictures. And these kids took off. When they knew they could create a book about anything they wanted, they really did a nice job with this. And here's another example. So this is one called Write Reader. What I love, again, the students can record their voice in here. It's all digital. What's different about Write Reader, though, is you'll notice kids can add their own text, inventive spelling, and then the adults can put that in there, and there's that read aloud option as well for both of them. So such a really neat way to get them creating. That was my son's book. But when I did this with some students a couple weeks ago, after we did our class activity book creation, I was really shocked and surprised to see when I went back into our library how many books they did at home about their family, about their pets, and just got them really excited about writing and creating. And that's the goal of all this, is to get them so excited about all these different things and let them take their creativity to the next level, get them engaged. So here, if you hover over again, some more getting started guides and videos to help you get going with both of those. Again, I use both of them. They're great resources. And of course, I couldn't walk away without sharing my favorite, our professional learning notebook that I put together for our staff, and I'm sharing it with you as well. If you're looking for different engagement resources, click on the tab here. If you're looking for feedback or assessment, all kinds of tech tools and resources you can utilize that are going to help you pick one, take away one, and get started with your kids and see how they do. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. I was really happy to be able to share all these great tools with you in this short amount of time. Again, you can click on my Twitter or my YouTube as well. And if you click on the treasure box, feel free to get that link again to the presentation and leave me any feedback that you want there. So again, thank you so much for joining me for Digital Learning Day, and have a great day.